This morning, as you can see from the title slide, we're going to be talking about, not necessarily we, but the premier architects here, talking about design trends in senior living. We really, as we talked about putting a session together, we talked about trying to concentrate on 4 or 5 topics that we thought were going to be very important as far as trends. And we'll be going over those pretty quickly. So let me just start with some introductions, and you guys can go over the 4 components that you want to talk about, and then at the very end, we'll kind of brief those, and then if we have time, there's one last thing we want to make a comment about. So let me start with introductions to these 2 fine gentlemen. So Eric Harmon. Eric is the Chief Design Officer at AG Architecture. He's got a Bachelor of Architecture and a Master's at the University of Wisconsin. 15 years of industry experience. Eric has acted as a panelist and speaker at various conferences, leading age national, state, etc. Very well recognized as a great designer and architect. He's been, I think, published in a couple of different articles, magazines, etc. He was also, this is pretty cool part, he was recognized in 2019 as the Argentum's Senior Living Leader under 40. Under 40 class. That was that good. Yeah, you had to roll that one. Yeah.
I narrowly made the cut in 2019.
Yeah, exactly. We also have Paul Donaldson. Paul is a founder and managing principal at PRDG Architecture, Bachelor of Architecture, at a fine university up in the Panhandle, Texas Tech, where I also graduated with an architectural degree, by the way. 30 years experience, 20 years experience in senior living. Paul actually represents, at least my relationship with Paul over plus 20 years with 2 firms, because he used to be the lead for the senior living studio at Perkins Will. Broke away and started the firm that he's with now, PRDG. Paul is a well-known speaker and panelist. He's appeared in national architectural books and publications, presented at various national and state leading age conferences. Paul was selected as a juror in the, the 2018 AIA Design for Aging, and I think that was published, that work was published in the 19th edition. So one thing, then we'll add me. So, very serious look. We intentionally wanted to get some real quick photographs that we could get, put together on the PowerPoint without really talking about it. Just, pictures that were quickly taken of each one of us. So these are the ones that we came up with. I obviously was sitting there daydreaming probably about lunch. At any rate, so with all of that, I'm going to turn it over to these 2 fine gentlemen and take a seat. I'll sit over there at the edge and you guys can just watch me age in place.
So there's a couple of things here. First, I want to take just 1 or 2 seconds and say thank you to Pat and Joel for giving us a tremendous experience yesterday at the shooting. I thought that it was going to be scary up here, but I don't feel scared now after being in a 250 square foot room with a bunch of loaded machine guns and all these fun things. It was exciting, let me tell you. It was a lot of fun. And then with having all of these people, especially Justin and John Spooner and all these guys. Justin, did you see Bespoke on my presentation?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What about it? All right, there's just so much material here, too. So, Diane, the previous group said that she had 275 acres on her site. The sites that we're going to talk about, I don't have 75 acres, I only have 5 acres. So I'm going to say a little bit about these constrained sites. So recently, in the last couple of years, we've really been dealing with constrained sites, dealing with sites that have challenges and they're typically too small And all of this is in an effort to try to get in a really unique position to have access to these unique markets. Constrained, dense urban sites, prices are high. You know that the rising land cost puts a lot of pressures on deals. Zoning restrictions is another complication that used to be a slam dunk for us, but now it's not. With active adult, everything else, a lot of constrictions. So getting access to these unique sites is a definite challenge. So in this project, I want to show you that's in Maryland. We have a site that actually didn't even exist whenever we started designing. So to say that if I brought this site to you, Bud, and showed you a site that is in the middle of an intersection and has 6 lanes of traffic in it, it might be a challenge. You might wonder what we were thinking.
That would be bold.
That would be bold. So I think John knows about this site. So if you compare the aerial of where our site was in 2010, we have a big box retail, we have an ocean of parking there, very transit-oriented scheme, something that you just wouldn't recognize as senior housing. Flash forward a few years, the city has taken this obsolete use and made it a more walkable community, mixed use, livable space, and it started to become something that people would have interest in. And so the city took this master plan and it made it a desirable place to be. And the objective for us in this small red site that you see here is for us to take this strip center and surface level parking and create a site so that we can integrate into the fabric of this city. So the site, as you see it on the left, had to be totally recreated. The roads had to be realigned. This realignment of the roads helped us connect to the neighborhood just beyond it, made it a much more walkable site, slowed the traffic down with taking out some of these large sweeping curves. This was this site, and the two to the right was the first of a couple phases that go into this new development. So we had to, on the site, it was really important, we had to coordinate with the people who were designing it because we were designing our building at the same time that they were designing their site. So there was a lot of verification and coordination that had to go into that, not only the boundaries, but the utilities and the topo and all that sort of thing. So today the site looks like this. It looks ordinary and it looks composed and it looks like something that we intend to work with. The project is actually under construction, and you can see in the background that there is a bustling mixed-use community in the distance. It's something that is desirable. There's a lot of opportunities for engagement in that community. You can see at the far right there is a public art scene, so a very vibrant community and a lot of cool things that are happening kind of at street level. And so this is where we were. So our solution for this project ended up being something that we think is going to fit seamlessly into this market. It's a 17-story high-rise project, IL Memory Care. It's approximately 275,000 square feet. It has 189 units. The building, as you can see it here, it has 2 levels of parking underneath. These 2 levels of parking serve retail and a restaurant that is at the grade level. It was really important for the city to have an activated streetscape and to stay in the same context of this neighborhood. Something unique about this site is we have a connector road that actually goes through and under the building, and that's a place so that we can have a safe drop-off zone for the residents. We can serve and access the amenity spaces, and it was just an opportunity that we took to make a more safe statement and an opportunity to enter into this building in a safer manner. The building, going further, there's 2 levels of parking below, activated streetscape. There's 4 levels of parking above that houses all of the parking for the residents and the community. On this parking level, there's going to be a screen, and we have an internationally known artist that has come together with the owner so that we can put together our art scene and really stitch ourselves into the fabric of this community. Above that, you can see that we have a lot of really cool amenities, outdoor spaces, terraces, pools, outdoor dining, and that sort of thing. So, our project, as you can see here, Activated Streetscape, that was something that was really key to this neighborhood. These outdoor terraces are positions so that you look over the city and have some really cool amenities at the top of this building too. There's a sky lounge, rooftop bar, and other things. So this new position of this building really establishes a walkable community. It's a safe drop-off zones connection to the larger community above. And so, we see this as an opportunity to make something out of nothing, for sure. So if a high-rise urban project is not in the cards for you, we have another client that has brought us a much larger site. So, but I failed to mention in the last site, it ended up being 1.1 acres. So, in context with the 275 acres, that's something to think about. This is a much larger site. This site is 3.78 acres. So we have a lot more space to deal with here. This is if you compare the aerials on the left, in 2018, this was a suburban office park and kind of an obsolete use. The major industries had moved out. This was kind of an abandoned area. The city has come in and invested some $325 million into that park that's shaded in green. Big investments try to bring people back to the city. If you look just south of that, you can see that there is another investment. It was a public-private partnership to get mixed-use retail and residential back into play in the city. And again, so the opportunity here is to snug up to all this investment and this growth and try to develop a site for ourselves. Our site is in red there. You can see that it is a little small L shape. So our site is, again, much larger, but it is constrained. It's a funny little L shape that has a street-facing side onto the public side. It has a lake to the bottom. It has about 40 foot of drop over this small little site here. And so it's, as you can see that, it's, our solution is a project that is this is 170 units and it's almost 200,000 square feet, IL, AL, and memory care project. This entry kind of shows what the entry would look like. It kind of has a downtown hotel feel, kind of a boutique feel. Has a public-facing street, and it's on an activated, very dense community. So our design was really kind of an interpretation of a modern warehouse. It is in a historic district. The street level, there's also a cafe, 15,000 square foot, was dedicated to retail and cafe. And it really, in our view, kind of resembles a boutique hotel, and that was the idea. The structure of this building was a very efficient 5-story wood structure over a 2-story concrete podium. So all of the parking for this building and for this area was taken off the street and was put under the building. Again, this is a very light, modern, airy interiors, and this was our solution for this enormous site. On the back side of this site, you can see it has more of a park-like setting. It steps down the hill. There's meandering paths that go from the community back down to this lake, which became a major feature for us and a great amenity. We utilized that structure to take up this 40 foot of grade. And this is just, again, we think that this is a good example of how to snug up to this new growing investment in the city. And it was an opportunity to capture residents that wanted to be back a part of the city.
Thanks, Paul. So I was brought onto this presentation apparently to talk fast. Kelly learned last night that I can eat very fast. I will see if I can talk as fast as I ate at dinner yesterday evening. To build on what Paul mentioned, I wanted to talk about master planning and the fact that there are individuals and communities that are listening to the same market studies that we are in the senior living industry. And when you start to think about master planning efforts, a lot of them being done by master developers on the for-profit side, where they want to bring in apartments, single-family, retail components, and different options into their overall lifestyle community that they want to develop. And they are getting the same market research that says senior living is in need of units. And when they're talking with the communities that they're working with, those same communities are saying, we will incentivize you to bring in senior living into your master plan. So very similar image we've all seen this type of experience. That is a sea of parking with about 80 acres worth of land to be developed on a site. A senior living component, if we need 1.1 to 3.3 acres of land, can really fit nicely into an overall lifestyle community. There's been a lot of years about talking for malls being redeveloped. And I always chuckle because it's really not the malls that are being redeveloped, those windowless boxes and storefronts, but it's really the parking that's being redeveloped into that lifestyle experience. And by approaching it from a multifamily mixed-use environment, you can look at the different lifestyles that can be created, the different housing options that they can incorporate, and they really start to generate really attractive lifestyle-focused spaces. The same spaces we want for our senior residents. So as they're going through the master plan and they're working with the communities, this one happens to be in Crystal Lake, Illinois, those communities are saying, when you're done with this process, we want to TIF or subsidize the senior living component that you can bring in. So they start to change their positioning on the master planning and the images that they're generating, and they're going to market to find that senior living provider that could occupy the tower in the backside of this image. So that piece is out there, and in a lot of your communities, if you're looking for that satellite opportunity or that more urbanized environment, finding these individuals to help you find a site is a really good way to move forward. In a slightly different experience, in a single family or pocket neighborhood type configuration, these developers are building full neighborhoods. Schools, daycares, multifamily, mixed use, and they are looking at primary real estate in the middle of their campus to be that focal point, and senior living seems to fit really well into that component. So this project is an example in Fitchburg, Wisconsin, and that orange parcel is a 3-acre site in the midst of an overall planned development where with the senior living component, we can bring in those common amenities, the restaurant, the health and wellness components, and we can open them up to the outside community members and become that focal point in the middle that also builds really nicely off of community spaces like Parkland. So the seniors are benefiting from all the planning while the community is able to come to the campus. One of the pieces that really drove into this design, and I put this image on here, is because this community identified a SMART code as part of their architectural design requirements. And that SMART code really became a limiting factor in the senior living environment because it minimized the size of our buildings and our blocks that we could create. So if you start to think about the northern climates, and even down here, in Wisconsin we want to stay out in the snow, in Texas you want to stay out in the sun, but the senior residents really like that connected capability, the direct access to the commons, and we weren't able to create that with the block sizes that we had to work with on this, so we started using forecourts. So we studied their SMART code and determined that the forecourt was a method that we could create relief in the building and step back and give them individual green space within the footprint, and instead of breaking up the building into several small buildings, we were able to create the forecourts to give the perception of smaller buildings and while still giving the seniors the full connection. And then of course, the green space that's created really works with a nice front door. So those projects are just two examples of how senior living clients of ours are working into the larger master plan So you don't have to undertake the entire development of 275 acres if you don't want to, but you can stick with that small satellite campus opportunity. The next piece that we wanted to jump into was the aging in place topic. And it was talked about at length yesterday, and some of it really starts to look at the ramifications that we have on the architectural side to allow that aging in place to work. And just like in Fitchburg, where we studied the SMART code to see what we could do to work with our building to create a design that worked for senior living, aging in place is really going to require us as architects to look at the codes and regulations that your communities can work with to ensure that we can create a proper aging in place scenario. The example that I wanted to show was Vista West. This is a for-profit rental product, but because of that rental product, they're able to be a little bit more flexible. They don't have to do pre-sales, and they can work a little bit more nimble in how they do their design process. From design to construction, we were 11 months into this project when they put a shovel on the ground. So they're certainly able to move quicker. In a not-for-profit area, we certainly want board alignment for these types of discussions, but on a for-profit, it works really well. This plan doesn't look really any different than a lot of urban plans that we're creating. We've got primary front door, we've got social space, outdoor landscape, interior commons. This is directly adjacent to a condo development that has been within this neighborhood for decades, and we kind of worked into the hillside to form these nice landscaped, beautiful outdoor areas. The inside commons doesn't really look any different than kind of your typical commons development, but what they were able to do was look at the codes, and in the state of Wisconsin, we have 2 different assisted living licenses. One is the CBRF, which is the community-based retirement facility. Yet the word facility is still in the code. And then the other one is RCAC, which is Retirement Care Active Community. So with those 2 types of codes, we're able to work with the building and figure out how to best serve an aging in place model. What we ended up doing for them was defining a single CBRF area. So this is on the first floor with direct access from the outside. So individuals here, visitors, can come directly into this household. And that CBRF model is for the higher level of care. There's studios and some 1-bedrooms into that mix. But this is the only true assisted living that they have put in this building. The rest of it is independent living with that RCAC model built over the top of it. And what we were able to find out was we were able to float an RCAC license throughout the entire independent living lease. So of the 164 units, they built their pro forma assuming 40% of those units would be the RCAC licensure for assisted living. So that meant architecturally we had to go back and look at their previous project. The image on the left is the 1-bedroom unit for their independent living for their previous project. The image on the right is their 1-bedroom unit for the assisted living on their previous project. And we went through and analyzed the similarities and found that we could increase the number of these 1-bedrooms within the independent living, maximize the density for that site, and create a distributed RCAC within their independent living and eliminate that 1-bedroom model from their true assisted care. Because as we reviewed things, the markets are so aligned with the walk-in closets still being now being part of the AL units, the laundry equipment, the nice kitchens that were designed into AL units are already in the IL. So then we had to make a couple more modifications to the IL units, and just one of them is from a life safety standpoint and kind of care to live longer in your resident, demonstrating safety first, taking the microwave over the top of the range and getting rid of that. So that a senior doesn't need to reach up to try to grab that microwave while the oven might be on. So we can put that in a drawer adjacent to the range. Those types of modifications were made to the standard one-bedroom unit to more service the AL resident, but we gave them the choice to move into IL and remain there. So that's just one example of kind of how that aging in place opportunity can work in campus.
Great, thanks. Also, in this project, we completed this a year or two ago, and it was in South Carolina, and our client really challenged us to blur the lines between independent and assisted living, kind of with the sole purpose of attracting and retaining a more active, younger resident. So in this project, you enter the site through a meandering drive. There are cottages on your left that are single story that resemble single-family homes, kind of the most independent version of senior housing that you might imagine, keeping that spirit of independence. Our floor plan is a double courtyard scheme, and in this double courtyard, you have independent living on the left, you have assisted living and memory care on the right, and then across the top, we have common spaces and units, and these units can actually flex between IL and AL residents. So this flexible unit mix was a big advantage. We had the challenge of designing units that could actually swing both ways, and that was something that we thought was very interesting. In this three-story design, it's kind of a coastal resort theme. It has 160 units. It's approximately 183,000 square feet. 10 of the units across the top of the building in that center section can flex between AL and IL. And all of the residents of this community enter through this single grand entry. That was definitely a challenge to the conventional assisted living entry and independent living entries. Our client wanted to make that statement. In this, memory care is at grade on the right side of this plan with assisted and 2 levels above that. So again, this southern coastal architecture looks like a cohesive building with a single entry. It naturally has these deep overhangs and kind of large balconies. And there's just these subtle little differences that where if you glance at the building, you can't really tell which side is assisted or not. On the left side, there are balconies that kind of give away that is the assisted side, but it's really subtle, and it reveals that they're trying to be, keeping an equal level of experience for everyone, whether it's assisted or not. So in order to upgrade that experience of assisted living, we designed a lot of shared spaces. And the shared spaces start at the entry, so everyone enters through the same kind of hospitality boutique experience. There's a wine bar, there is a bistro cafe and a salon. All of these are shared between AL and IL. The indoor pool is also one of these amenities that everyone uses. So this blended experience really just reinforces the dignity and respect that no matter where you are in the aging process, our client wanted to blend these things. So here's an example of where our client started blurring the lines between independent and assisted living, and they started in the marketing materials, and they started in a really creative way. This is not my words, but their words: supportive, independent, and assisted living. So what is it? This is definitely an assisted living project. This project is on a very highly constrained site. This is one for the records here. This is 0.65 acres, and it has 120 units of assisted living. The parking is under the structure for the residents and the staff, and all of the surface level parking is for guests. And so any of the developer people that are kind of like looking at those numbers, that's 180 units an acre. It's probably the most dense project that we've ever seen. So this site is actually located near a downtown, and you can see in the background, it is snugged up to a very affluent residential area that's highly desirable, and that was the real play here, is to get into this market and find a way. The arrival sequence on this project is like a hotel. You drive under the building and you approach the building at street level through a controlled entry. All the amenities are well appointed. They look like independent living, and so they've blurred the line with upgrading all of this, the experiences and all of these different spaces. There is a bar, a bistro, a TV lounge, cafe, they're all just super well appointed. On the 11th floor of this building, we decided to put the kitchen and the dining room. And again, the major amenity here is the view. So it has phenomenal views of downtown. This happens to be in Texas. Another word that the owner played with was concierge. So if you look at their website, they use concierge in lieu of care in almost every instance. And it really just reinforces this opportunity to drive choice into the conversation. The club room of this project is another example of a variety of spaces and features that you wouldn't ordinarily see in assisted living. In this one example, we have banquet seating, we have bar seating, soft seating, and other social spaces. And these just definitely not your traditional AL card room. So what's really different about this project are the units. These aren't the units. So this is a traditional example. We've all seen them. They're not so great. This is an assisted living unit that doesn't have any sense of entry, has limited cooking opportunities, has limited views out, and it's just nothing about this is inspiring. So we definitely, this is not our project.
I like the name though, of Tea Kitchen.
Tea, you have tea in there. So this is not my project. I hope it's not your project. I don't offend about any of you other guys. But, so what's different about this project are the units. And there was a recent code change with the licensures regs in the state of Texas that now allow cooking devices. So in the state of Texas, you could put a cooktop and an oven and those sort of things, and that opened the door for having a more formal kitchen. So what's different about this unit? There's really a lot of things. As you walk into it, it has a sense of arrival and a little foyer, some sort of private entry. You walk into a kitchen that has a microwave, it has a cooktop, it has an oven, it has a dishwasher, has a full refrigerator. Those are some of the things I think that Mallory was talking about. This has stacked washers and dryers in this unit. And one thing that's really different is it has a corner balcony. So the opportunity to go out, that used to be a major no-no, but in this unit, our client went to that length.
Really, one of our themes of our presentation is to continue to push your architect to review the current regulations. And just because it's been done this way in the past doesn't mean there aren't new things on the books that allow us to be more flexible. The next one that we wanted to jump into was the idea of holistic wellness and kind of what that means to the senior community. I like that we put more than a fitness room up here. I think that goes without saying, and we started hearing some of this yesterday, which is, there's an opportunity to bring future residents into your campus in addition to new residents or existing residents through the idea of health and wellness and those amenities associated with it. I love the idea of having the club where you could pay a membership and maybe you don't live there yet, but you can come into the campus. And this ties into that type of example because if you're going to do something along those lines, do those people who are not living in the campus but want to come and visit, do they want to come through the same front door as all of the existing residents and family members do today? Do they want that classic kind of front door, porte cochere, receptionist experience? Or if we're trying to give them the club, do they want to have their own entry opportunity with a Center for Healthy Living type experience where they're getting dropped off, they can come in, meet with a concierge again, and be directed to the fitness room, the aquatic center, or the healthy dining options. That was the core principle behind this project that you're seeing. This is in the Grange Park, Illinois. They had an existing tower that was an 8-story tower on one side and a 9-story tower on the other. And they distinctly had a very set market with that tower use. Their age was increasing and people were coming through that grand entry, but then they were in a very large H-shaped tower with very little natural light within it. And they wanted to develop the opposite product for their next generations of seniors. That ended up being, it wouldn't be a presentation today without talking about hybrids or villas. because we hit on them a few times yesterday, but it was a villa product that they wanted to move forward with. They named it the Arboretum Villas, a very attractive, independent living hybrid option, but they then connected that to the club. The Center for Healthy Living was the destination that connected their existing residents to the new, and of course brought the greater community into this campus. That new commons was the link. It had its own front door, so when people were coming, you were meeting at the club, you weren't meeting them at the front door of the building. And then of course, when you start to look at how the programming of that club space can work, you've got the aquatic center, you have the fitness area, you have that third or fourth healthy dining option, and then still, because we're in the Great White North, physical connections, so people don't have to walk outside if they don't want to. That courtyard that is defined by the Center for Healthy Living and the hybrid units is where they took the advantage of incorporating the greenhouse and the bocce ball and the pickleball courts. Pickleball is not in the courtyard. We didn't want the noise reverberating too much off the windows, so we tucked that off to the side a little bit. But we took these advantages to really amenitize that courtyard and define the Center for Healthy Living building by active elements that people want to engage in, so that when they come to the wellness area for the fun and games, they can then see the recommendation for the Tai Chi class or the yoga class that might be happening. So of course, you want to come for the golf simulator, but you'll stick around for the yoga class if you weren't told you had to do it, but you decided you wanted to because your buddy was going to stick around to do that class as well. So by positioning these different wellness options together, you can really get an increased use of the fitness-related elements that happen within that one room.
Great. So longevity and wellness, that's all the talk of this whole thing. This longevity happens to be kind of the focus of this project and what the owner bought into. This is a life plan community. This is 220 units. It's a little over 500,000 square feet. It's in Florida. This project's currently in pre-sales and it's in permitting.
Does this one have more than 3 acres?
Yeah, this has 18 acres. This is, ocean. That's why we have this big of a building. So, so living well can mean a lot of things, you know. It's the opportunity to connect with others and kind of seizing on all these chances to explore our interest and to grow spiritually and to nurture a healthy lifestyle. And in this project, we provide all of the ingredients to live to the fullest. There is a central zone that's in this dashed red line. Our fitness area is more than just a fitness room that's tucked into the back of this building. It's actually the centerpiece of what we're doing, and it's an entire zone of engagement. It's not just a single room. It's several rooms that pull together a wide variety of spaces. And this project just expands on the concept of wellness, and there are spaces that are stimulating for the mind and the body. There's places to meditate. There's other gardens and that sort of thing. So this wellness suite was designed as kind of the jewel box and the centerpiece of the architecture here. It anchors this resort-style pool. It was planned to be a focal point. It is a place to more than just see and be seen, and it was a place of experience. So it was a place of engagement. It was a place that has opportunity for emotional wellness. There's sculpture gardens, meditation gardens, and a laundry list of amenities that any sales associate would enjoy. There's composed walking loops that go around. There's a lake with a fishing pond and a pavilion. There's pickleball, there's bocce ball, there's croquet, there's a yoga lawn, and there's putting greens. So anything that you do from an active, engaged standpoint, this opportunity exists on this site. So again, you can see well-appointed spaces that are active, engaging, healthy-looking spaces where you can have social activities, juice bars, the yoga lawn, and the fitness center. Now I'm looking at this. That fitness center will be a lot more engaging with more people in it. I've got to put some people in it.
We'll fix that soon.
Great, but the owner really believes that by prioritizing longevity, that you will engage residents that like those activities and have an engaged community. So artificial intelligence, so we're down to the last 5 minutes. And this is the most fun part of everything that we've done so far. Andrew talked about artificial intelligence yesterday, and so everyone is kind of wondering, what does this mean? What is this going to do to senior housing? What is it going to mean to architecture? And we're all dealing with this. And so I looked into it a little bit, and Abraham Lincoln said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 hours sharpening my axe. So AI is not really a tool that takes us from an axe to a sharper axe. We're really talking about an axe to a scalpel, and a scalpel to 10 scalpels at once, and that's kind of the power behind this new tool. I think we'll all see that in the next couple of years. So, how is this going to change things for us as architects? We don't completely know. We like to ask these big questions. How can we design buildings that have more joy? How do we design buildings that feel like home? How do we design buildings that are safer and more sustainable? Those are the kind of questions that we want to get to, and we want to use these tools to give us the time and energy to do those things. So I'm not sure if you can see this. Again, this is a slide that bears a lot of text, but let me boil it down for you. This whole concept of text to image novel content is less than 10 years old. There were researchers out in California, at Berkeley and Stanford, that in 2015 come up with this idea of text to image content. In 2017, they put an algorithm together that actually accomplishes this. So it's kind of groundbreaking technologies. There's a little red light on there. Do I need to pay attention to that? We're counting down the speaker. So in 2022, this technology is rolled out for the first public offering of this platform that actually functions. And so we now have publicly utilized text-to-image graphics. In 2023, the big transformation occurs, and that's where the money comes in. So in 2023, Microsoft plows $10 billion into this open AI platform. Amazon plows another $4 billion, billion with a B, into this platform. Elon Musk, Meta, all of these guys are pouring tons of money into it. So here we are. We're at the very cusp of this big technology. People are putting a ton of money into it. And again, this is a tool that's being adopted faster than TikTok, and it's growing at a pace faster than the smartphones grew. I think the headlines say it all. I pulled a lot of this content from this Time article that was in the March edition of Time. So look at it, you can see it. It talks about a lot of different industries, but the headlines really say it all. AI is a powerful tool, and it's got a lot of people concerned. And I think that the one that has me the most concerned is the top headline. It's already way beyond what humans can do. Will it wipe out architects?
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah. We'll find out next year if that is. So in our career, we've done this. When I began my career, we had to adapt from drawing on paper to drawing on computers. And now we're just, currently, we're drafting on computers with this next level of computation. So this, to us, the way that we see it in our firm is just the next level of technology. We're going to adopt them, and we're going to adapt to them. So you remember the images that Bud introduced us with. So this is a quick opportunity to show you how powerful AI is and how it works. You can take images and you can load images up, and you can add a few keywords and get dozens of unique variations. This is how we describe ourselves and what we look like if you add in what we think of ourselves, and you can get animated views. You can get much cooler and much more sophisticated, for sure. So you get these sort of things. This is the toy part of this tool, and you get dozens of alternatives just in seconds. So here's an opportunity to see AI kind of in a more practical sense, and text has generated one of these images. One is a photograph. One is a text to image content version, and another is a drone shot. So they all look pretty convincing, and they all look pretty real. The first one is a picture. Janelle, I don't know if you recognize this. This is an actual place. This is an independent living room. The second one is an independent living dining room. And the third is an entry to an existing community. I don't know if you can tell. Can you tell which one was generated by AI or rendering? Number two, yeah, it's convincing. That was completely described, and this text image comes up. So really, it boils down to this, that the quality of our questions are going to start to define and influence the quality of our designs.
And how it can help the architects in the planning process is by telling you the experience you're going to have in those spaces, more so than just what that space is from a dimensional standpoint. Brad was nice enough to put some colored plans up on the board yesterday, and I thought to myself, Brad, if you need some updated graphics, we can send you some better colored ones than the hand-drawn version that you put up there. But what that does is we're hand-drawing that sketch of what the clubhouse or the hybrid model is going to be. But then when we go to make a presentation like this and say, oh, here's the sketch, we get more questions on, well, what's it going to be like than what's the space between those two buildings, and can we add enough windows by code? So we're using the AI generated images on this slide to demonstrate what a garden room might look like, what a art studio and craft room, what type of use you're going to do within that space. All three of these images are 100% AI generated. And the difference is, when Paul showed that empty fitness room, it's a beautiful room, and as architects, we really appreciate all the details associated with that. But as future residents, they care about what experience they can have in that room, and we can use these images to generate that excitement. So whether it's art studios and wellness, or the pickleball that's inside, or even the understanding of gathering outside in a well-appointed landscape courtyard, those types of rectangles on an early plan don't sell the concept or the excitement on a little jam session that can happen in a partially covered outdoor patio. Those types of exciting images really help you as clients kind of buy into these ideas.
Great, so here's how we're using this new tool in our office. We're adopting it and we're playing with it. This is an actual project that we did for an international client. It's on Great Freedom near 7 Mile Beach. So it's a beautiful site. We had this opportunity a few years back, and we took on this project kind of with the normal processes: space planning, site planning, organization, 3D massing, modeling, and SketchUp, and all of the traditional things that you normally do. Eventually, through a month's worth of work, we end up with an iteration of the concept plan and inspiration image that we did in a typical fashion. So these are all things that we do conventionally. What we did, kind of with the help of AI, was we took those three images and then we started to describe what we wanted this place to look like. And this is work that was done in a matter of hours. This is less than a single day's work. We asked AI, give us an alternative for a grand entry. Give us an alternative for a pool. Give us an opportunity to see what does a bar or leisure area look like. Take portions of this building and look at it and derive more meaning and more detail from the exterior architecture, and compose this all with single colors and single content. And again, this is stuff that will help you and help us with inspiration. This is definitely, these functional tools are great for early inspiration. We're not going to build off of anything like this. This is something that really drives our creativity. And these tools, we kind of see it like an intern, And so with an intern, they're speedy and they're eager and they require a lot of coaching. This tool requires a lot of coaching. And so like the quality of their output, it just depends on the quality of instructions that we can give it. And so this is a tool that we are exploring and we're taking on kind of with a spirit of investigation and growth. And we hope to be able to take on bigger and better questions as we get support on some of this stuff. So we We still love human interns. We want them. If you know any of them, send them our way. But there's just no doubt that AI is a very powerful tool, and over the next year or so, it's going to shake things up.
Very exciting.
Okay. He's gonna ask me for a hand for the man aging in place. So, I'm gonna close. The first 4 points you've heard from the architects, a lot of detail, a lot of thoughts about it. But what I wanna concentrate on is the last one. It's really not a trend, but it is what the future is in residential construction and delivery of spaces, and that is off-site and modular solutions. Yesterday, we had a group of people that did a local tour of a plant that is down in Grand Prairie that has a wood frame solution, mostly 1 story. There's some images of what we saw yesterday and some deployment of some of these. We're currently looking at some of these opportunities to deploy in cottage use initially. We have a couple of Greystone people next week going out to the East Coast to look at another factory, and I use that word intentionally, that has got a different solution than what these guys are, which is a wood frame. So I close with, keep your eyes on this. This is going to be the future, I believe, of residential construction, particularly as it relates to affordable housing, student housing, and eventually it'll get to senior living in an affordable home. With that, we're finished. 5